Johannesburg.
Though Cronje withdrew his resignation, the transformation issue was still to rankle.
Black people encroaching on a nice cushioned comfort zone that you were in for many years. It's a threat. I don't know whether I'm being harsh.
Cronje took South Africa to the '99 World Cup in England as joint favourites. They were within an ace of reaching the final.
Yeah, a lot of people say, what's the highlight of your career and what's the lowlight of your career? And I think it's the same game. You know, playing in the World Cup and getting to a semi-final is an incredible highlight. But then obviously the lowlight, tying the game and not making it to the final, was the absolute downer. To watch that single unfold in the middle of the, sitting in the change room with the bottles of champagne ready.
3 balls remaining, Krusner on strike. There it is. They go, this will be out, surely. It's out. It's going to be run out. That's it. South Africa out. Donald didn't run. I cannot believe it. Australia go into the...
And have to go back and sit down on the seat and just come to grips with it. Yeah, it was incredible.
What a disappointing end for South Africa. What a match for our viewers.
The game of cricket is not exact science.
Hansie, that must be a heartbreaker.
Yeah, it's a cruel game.
Yeah. 2 to win England.
The next year, Hansie added to his reputation as a bold and innovative leader by turning a dead test match into a compelling contest with a double innings forfeit. This had never been done before in the long history of Test cricket.
Hansie Cronje obviously disappointed in losing. You can see that in his face.
Then in early 2000, it was to India as captain, back to the scene of his international start at a decade before as his country emerged from sporting exile. Hansie Cronje was established, a national hero and receptacle of universal adulation. Feared as a captain around the world, he represented a South Africa that was unimaginable just 10 years previously.
And then, out of clear blue sky, as it were, we had the match-fixing allegations from the Delhi police, which said it had tapes which showed that Hansie Cronje had been in the pay of Indian bookmakers.
I mean, Cronje was caught by accident. The cell phone that he was given was a gift from a businessman. But unbeknownst to that businessman, the businessman was being taped, not Cronje. But all these calls were from South Africa, and Detective Paul in Delhi suddenly had these cricket conversations going on, and he knew a bit about the game.
Lucky accident, if you like, or unlucky accident for Hansie Cronje, as it turned out.
And we have to verify certain facts.
The Indian police were laying charges against Cronje and 3 other players.
Significantly, the 3 others were all non-white cricketers.
Most of the press said, this just can't be true, this is a hoax.
Initially, of course, he was uncontactable. The cricket board put out a statement on his behalf.
They were hoping he was going to handle it himself and perhaps hold out.
I got a call from Bronwyn Wilkinson, and she said to me, there are these match-fixing reports that Hansie Cronje is somehow implicated in match-fixing. But of course it's all rubbish. And I remember myself saying, yes, of course it's all rubbish. Match-fixing? What on earth could that mean?
There was certainly knowledge that bookmakers were around. Whether those bookmakers were influencing cricketers seemed to be a completely different matter.
It took a while for me and for almost every other South African journalist to start giving all this a little bit more credence.
Hansie has denied all allegations of match fixing by himself.
The Minister of South African Sport was behind him. He had to be strong and deny.
He made it clear that at no stage has he received any financial benefits from such alleged incidents of match fixing.
Hang on, he wasn't pissed off. You know, why isn't he pissed off?
So it's impossible for me to identify one individual, 2 individuals.
His only thing was denial. That was it. It's not true. There was no indignation, there was no anger, there was no furiousness.
I've never received any sum of money for any match that I've been involved in, and that I've never ever approached any of the players to fix a game.
But you could see then he was changing already. He was almost physically smaller. Obviously he wasn't, but he sort of looked that way. He wasn't quite as imposing as he used to be. And you could see in his face there was a change he wasn't quite the confident, bulletproof figure that he was.
For 92 for South Africa the first time.
But I begged him the day before. I said, don't confess. I said, I'm telling you, just keep quiet. It's not easy to prove a case of corruption without the right evidence. They played poker, the Indian police played poker with him, and he fell, he collapsed. He wrote a confession. That was the biggest mistake he ever made.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang.
And there was Bacher trying to make some sort of sense of this. He looked like he was on tranquilizers. You don't often see Ali Bacher mumbling and almost inarticulate.
Our information is that Hansie Cronje was given between 10 to 15,000 US dollars. A detailed.
There was Bacher trying to just keep the lid on everything.
And forecasting.
What was Cronje doing?
He was interacting with bookmakers, more so on providing information.
I think he was sacked immediately as the captain.
What the Delhi police discovered turned out to be the truth.
I said immediately, Hansie, have you taken money from a bookmaker? He said yes. I said, please explain.
You know, as a cricketing purist, it was a shock to the system that the gentleman's game had been treated in this way, and one didn't want to believe that these things had been going on.
My attitude was, well, this is outrageous, and he must be brought to account for this.
How did you react when you first heard?
First heard of outrage, I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked.
No one can convince me that anything's actually taken place.
I got an SMS from him, from Hansie, basically saying sorry, my friend. And then the next day, the revelations came out.
What Cronje had done was remove this moral high plane on which post-apartheid South Africa has existed. You know, this is a new South Africa. This is a South Africa which does everything right, you know. And suddenly, the symbol of your cricket team, the symbol of your sporting nation, turns out to be a petty crook who takes money and fixes matches.
The South Africans had invested a great deal in Hansie Cronje. They needed to limit the damage while not condoning corruption.
Well, then the King Commission was created.
The Minister of Sport asked if I would chair the commission, which of course was front page news, but I mean the United Cricket Board and the government reacted very quickly, very expeditiously.
This is a country where, for probably good reason, led by Mandela during the 90s, reconciliation was tremendously important.
If there had been a problem, then they were going to get to the root of it, and they were going to clean cricket up. This was going to be another moral crusade. Okay, maybe a South African had created the problem, or helped create the problem, but it was South Africans who were going to clean it all up and make cricket better again.
How could somebody who had such iconic status in the society have done this?
The King inquiry started most sensationally with revelations that were truly sensational.
It was like waiting for JFK to be shot. Like something out of a Scorsese movie, and outstepped Hansie Cronje and the cameras went mad. It was theatre, it was utter theatre.
I wish to disclose all the information I have, and in the emotional state in which I find myself, I have dredged my memory as best I can in order to place the facts before this commission.
In the world of cricket, there was involvement by certain players with bookmakers, whether it be a question of spread betting or match fixing, but that it was a reality.
Was it widespread? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, how many international captains? I don't say we got to double figures, but we're a lot closer to that than has come out.
The initial revelations centred on an Indian bookmaker named